Can anyone stop their madness? They can't get away with all of that. Their workflow is too good, their experiments too powerful. Their exclusive skins are craved by other games. But worst of all, why is Blitzcrank a dog? So yes, TFT is back with a new set, and just like it happens every single time, it is not holding back. They know their TFT audience pretty well now, and they know they can go wild with the mechanics. That is because the sets rotate at a pretty good pace, so if you don't like it, just wait. Not only that, but by now, TFT has a really good workflow with new units, new art, there are new skins, and they are even really good at porting other skins from other games, such as Wild Rift. But the thing is, this workflow is so good that the players constantly ask, well, TFT managed to port it over, so why can't League? The truth, of course, is they could, it is the same engine after all. But not only is TFT using a scrapped version of the original champions, where they only use limited animations because they really have a memory budget, but also the League team is currently working on the next big thing. So the chances of the team suddenly porting something over from Wild Rift are not the highest. Anyway, I think it's time to have a look at how TFT managed to make League players crave their skins once again. So, the new dev drop arrived, and with it we learned the theme of the next set. It is called Space Gods. And I have to say, I have a funny story with the name of this set, which I am 90% sure I am allowed to say. You see, when I was over at Riot to write the lore for the sprites, as well as Pengu Garen, we'll get onto that later. Anyway, while I was there, I was talking to the devs and I told them about Funus, the video game I am developing in my free time. That's because I wanted to give them a little bit of context for my writing history, because I technically wrote an entire universe for that game. And so I told them about the classics, about the old gods and their influence on the universe. And later I learned that some writers got scared that I would think that they are stealing my ideas, because the theme of the next set kinda overlaps with what I did before, even though that set has been in development for a while. So yes, I accidentally learned the theme early. Anyway, the set is about space gods. And that's where the devs already dropped heresy. Because in the next set, there will be no carousel. This is very interesting to hear, because the carousel is what originally separated TFT from the Dota auto chess. But over time, TFT got enough unique mechanics that these days, if you take the carousel away, what's gonna happen? The point of the carousel is that it is a semi-random distribution of items and units that favors people depending on how well they are doing. Which essentially means it can be replaced. And so instead of a carousel, the next set will have a very Hades-styled gameplay. In every game, you will have two gods that compete for dominance. And during the carousel rounds, you'll be able to choose an offering from one of these gods, with each of these essentially changing an augment you'll get. And of course, between the two gods, there will be also Space Pengu that will offer you some of the lesser rewards, like items and units. Again, it is carousel made different. But once you make a choice to one of the gods, those gods will follow you. In fact, you will also get a relic that will show other players your allegiance. And speaking of allegiances, depending on what god you chose, your abilities will be different. And the gods themselves will also hop onto your screen, again, very Hades style. Now, as you can see, the unique choices from the gods will work like the old Dragon Armory. So of course, you can reroll it for gold, but each of the gods will also offer you their unique augments. For example, Yasuo is about giving you power and helps you with positioning. And someone like Aurelion is here to give you quests and great rewards. Now, here you might have also noticed that these gods have their own unique portraits, and so next the dev drop goes into the art to talk about that. So apparently, when developing these, they did have good options for the gods themselves. But they didn't want them to overlap with the units that much. Because yes, even though Aurelion is a god, Aurelion is also a unit. Also, you can see that the gods actually have emotions. So you'll see their expressions changing depending on whether you accept or deny their offer. And yes, once again, the gods also have their own personalities and their own abilities. Here we were given more examples. For example, Soraka was one of the first gods that was developed, and she's all about giving you health. And yes, you might have noticed that the Soraka specifically is based on the Star Guardian skin. In fact, all the gods are based on their alternative versions. Yasuo is one of the darker gods that's all about positioning. Evelynn, as you can see, is based on the old god universe from League of Legends. But not everything is taken from the work that came out of League of Legends, because just like Kabuko became an evergreen unit that was designed for TFT, this set we are getting 2 new additions. There is Bia the baby and Bain the mum. These are totally new units that were made up for TFT, but of course they are loosely based on what's happening on Runeterra. I mean, even Kabuko is a Yordle no matter what TFT set we're in. And so these 2 are somewhat loosely based on the owl creatures that are all around Runeterra. Now, normally this is where the dev drop would cut off and go into the units and the traits, but we are not doing that just yet. And that's because people already got the portraits of all 9 of the gods. And so be ready for Kale, the god of order, Evelynn, the god of temptation, Thresh, the god of pacts, Varus, the god of love, Ari, the goddess of opulence, Aurelian, the god of wonders, Echo, the god of time, Soraka, the goddess of stars, and Yasuo, the god of the abyss. So that's where Yasuo's rank ends up. And so now, with the gods covered, let's go into the units and the traits, which is where the fun begins. So first they start with a Space Groove, which, yes, Space totally fits, Groove didn't expect it next to the gods. But these units are all about getting power and augmenting their own abilities. And here, as you can see, everyone gets their classic Space Groove skins. But wait, what is that? Is that a Space Groove Blitzcrank that's a dog? Heresy, I say! He has always been cats! I cannot believe the precious development time went into such hubris! Anyway, besides the Space Groove, there is also Darkstar. Of course, Darkstar is all about consuming enemies with black holes. Then there is also the lighthearted Meepy trade. Here you get Meepies, the more Meepies you have, the more Meeps you have, and Bard can convert those Meeps into damage and items. Then Anima Squad is back, which of course is a reference to the Swarm game mode. This is your classic low streaking trade that has the cash out at the end. And here, when you cash out, you will also get items that also reference the Swarm game mode. Ooh, this one is gonna be full of nostalgia. Then there is the Mecha trade that turns mecha units into their pure mech forms, with Urgot being a tank, Aurelian being a spaceship, and Galio being Galio with a sword. Then there are Time Breakers, which are your Pulsefire skins that are more of the splashy type of traits. You can fit them into whatever comp you need. Then there are the Primordians that are also taken from the Anima Squad universe. Then there are Stargazers that actually form little constellations on your board. The Nova that are all about fleshy finisher moves. And there are also some threat-like units that fit anywhere. For example, Graves is a robot that you can program yourself. There is also Sona, which is your ultimate support commander. And there is Misfortune, which you can change to fit different traits. There are also 2 utility tanks, there is Rast and Tahm Kench. And lastly, there are 2 more units, there is Vex. Yes, TFT just revealed a new card for Riftbound. Of course, in TFT, Vex is a hyper carry. And lastly, there is Shen, which is a bastion that helps your allies get more attack speed. And for the most part, that would be it for the units. But before we move on, there is one trait they didn't mention in the video that we have to talk about. You see, as people got the full list of all the units, they noticed there are also the arbiters. Now here we can see Arbiter Zoe, with this skin being based specifically on the canonical version of the Twilight. More specifically, this skin is not technically Zoe, it is the Twilight, as in the god. And it turns out that besides Zoe, there are also Arbiter Leona, Diana, and LeBlanc. And when we dive into this, you might notice something interesting. This Arbiter Leona is based on the original concept art from the old lore book. Specifically, this is what the more pure form of the aspect of the sun is supposed to look like. So in a similar way to the Zoe skin, this is what the sun would look like. So Leona also got an Arbiter skin that is based on a canonical version of herself from Runeterra. Now, we can combine this with the fact that previously Skin Spotlights mined some links to a weird legendary skin for Leona and Diana. And lo and behold, there is a really good chance we might get the Arbiter skin for Leona and Diana in League later. That is, unless the mines were linked to TFT before, and so nothing's gonna happen. Now, the thing is, there is also the arbiter LeBlanc, but LeBlanc never got any links, meaning there is a really good chance that this will be exclusive to TFT. With that said, we can also point out that Diana didn't get any concept art of her own, but it is still linked to Leona after all. But LeBlanc is still the one that stands out, because LeBlanc herself is not Targonian, unlike Zoe, Diana and Leona. All the other champions totally make sense because they are Targonian aspects. LeBlanc was kinda made up. So I don't think Riot even wants to turn her into a skin in League of Legends if they wanna make those skins canonical. That is, unless they just turn that skin into a totally new made-up celestial god. But with that, that is pretty much it for the units. And so next, the dev drop goes into the process of creating the art for the gods. For context, Valentine here is also the one who made the new overnumbered art for LeBlanc in Riftbound. So rest assured that art is good. And lastly, this dev drop then ends with cosmetics. Now, before they dive into the cosmetics of the space gods, they do also talk about the last patch of lore and legends. Because here we are getting Pengu Garen Unbound. The superior information here is that I am the one who wrote the lore quips for that one. That's right, whenever you see a little bit of flavor text around Pengu Garen, which might also include the login screen, there is a good chance I wrote that line. I am proud of my work. Anyway, on to the rest, we are getting 2 more Unbound skins for the space gods. There is the Darkstar Mordekaiser, which has an amazing finisher. And the boom even gets bigger over time. And there's also the Chosen of the Wolf, Katarina Unbound. I mean, it is space gods. Kindred is kinda there. After which, of course, there are new chibis, so there's gonna be Star Guardian Syndra, and there's also gonna be Star Nemesis Morgana. This one also comes in with a new arena, it is called First Star's Lament. That's a pretty cool reference to the Star Guardian lore. And there is also the chibi Battle Bet Zaya. But with that, that is it. That's it for the new update, and so there are 3 things people are craving. People are craving the Pengu Garen, they are craving the new Hades-styled gods, and they are craving the new skins that League of Legends should totally be getting. And so get ready for a new TFT set that is full of heresy. There is no carousel, Blitzcrank is now a dog. What's next? Daisy is gonna come back without Ivern again? Huh.